All right. Test, test, test. Looks like Hang Out on the Air is going away August 1st. For quick streaming, try youtube.com/webcam. Interesting. We'll have to keep a note of that. All right. Well, we are just getting started with the Whiskey Chat with Telex, and we're going to be looking at a couple really nice things today. Actually, three things that I like to go over. And let's see. The first thing that happened was I got a box, and my friend Prene, appreciate it. We talked a little bit earlier, and he sent me a blind tasting, and I've been lucky enough to do, I think, it's probably my third one. The first one and second one were a little rough. The first one was pretty difficult. The second time I went through a blind tasting, I think I did about half and half out of five. I think I got like 3 out of 5, 2, and then I made like a change and kind of like toward the end, and thankfully got about 3 out of the 5 correct. This time going through the motions, I was lucky enough just to nail it 100%, and I was like, "Oh, this is going to be cool," you know. I'll go through how I did it, basically, what to look for when you get a list, and maybe this will help you sort out some of the issues that you might run into that I've remembered of running into doing blind tasting. So that part should be pretty fun. We'll also look at a new bottle that just came recently as the Dalmore. It's the 13.65. And this is the peppery pears and praline offering from Scotch Malt Society. 13-year-old, looking forward to diving in more with that. Took that on vacation recently to Fallingwater area, Seven Springs in Pennsylvania, and glad I brought the bottle with me, that's for sure. Didn't have a whole lot, but had enough to have a little fun. I brought a few bottles, actually. An Ardbeg Ugadal from like 2008, and that barbecue and fishnets one, the other one that Ben chose for the Scotch Malt Society. That was pretty good stuff, though. We'll talk about that. We'll also get into hey, Jason, good to see you. We'll also get into Brora, which was surprisingly just sent out of the blue from an anonymous donor. But this sucker is a Brora. It's a 26-year, 1981 sherry butt, 57.1% of their cask. It's called their Senatory Vintage is the bottler, independent bottling. It's SV for short. It's their cask strength collection. He also sent the Port Ellen we did last show, and that was excellent. It reminded me of like a Kalila, but it was really delicate but powerful at the same time. I think because of the age, it was also, I think, pretty close to 26 years in age. Also cask strength, and it had a lot of vegetative type properties that I normally wouldn't like. I think in a lot of distilleries, a lot of like offerings, but that one I think was pretty good because the mint and the different like basil and stuff that I was getting was so subtle and melded really well with all the other fruits and florals that I was getting out of it. So I thought it was really well done, well balanced, a great representation of what Islay can do with time. And the funny thing is, other than Lefroy and maybe Lagavulin, a lot of these distilleries don't really have a lot of older offerings out anymore either. I mean, the Ardbeg's got their 20-something. It's like a 22 to 23-year range. But that's pretty much where I think they kind of stop. You don't see a lot of 30 and 40-year-old Ardbegs floating around. Lefroy does go up to about 30, 32-year, but they don't really go past 32 very often. I think I've occasionally seen a distillery optional offering of like a 40 or 50, but it's extremely rare. Same with Lagavulin. I've seen a 25. I think is their high-end go-to. I rarely ever. I have heard of a 30, but like beyond that, around the 30-year range is well, where a lot of these kind of die off. So it's really good to be able to get, even if it's dead, the dead distillery that doesn't function anymore. It's still great to get a representation of what they are able to do, with time and certain what's the word for it? The ability to go get certain materials or whatever whatever makes it special for that distillery. I need to study more about Brora and Port Ellen and a lot of these older distilleries. I kind of just realized that talking about them. I don't know a whole lot about them, so this is going to be good. Hey, Loch Ness, good to see you living this time slot. Hey, yeah, Jason's also got a sample of Brora. Awesome deal. Well, maybe it's this one. Is it by chance, is it an 81 signatory vintage cast strength collection, vintage 1981, specifically January the 12th, bottled on, I'm sorry, erase that, December the 1st, 1981, because they're using British date sequence, which throws me off, and bottled on December the 19th, 2007. 26-year-old sherry butt cast type. The cast number was 1520. There was 391 bottles of this particular deal, 57.1% strength, size 700 milliliters. No, it's a 77, 38-year-old official release. Holy moly, man. 38 years. This one is 26, and I still think it's amazing. I can imagine what a 38-year-old Brora would be like, and an official bottling too. That would be something special. That's a true unicorn bottle there, my friend. Oh man, if you're ever in Maryland and you need help tasting something, you let me know. I'm your guy. Oh, that sounds glorious. Well, looking at this bottle, and this is the visual is available on whiskybase.com is where I usually look up some of these specific types. I think it's the Sipper Social Club. Okay, I have to look in. I have heard of that, but I don't know much about the Sipper Social Club. I have to look into that. Is it like a SMWS type of club where you have to spend a certain amount per year to be a member, and that gives you access to buy certain bottles? Is that how it works, or is it something completely different? I'm just curious, because I just recently joined the SMWS and have been doing pretty well. I actually need to put an order in. I was going to do that today, and then just time got away from me. I've been working, so didn't have much of a chance. Hopefully tomorrow I will be able to get something in. Oh, it's another YouTuber. Awesome. Okay. Wow. I bet that's a really good sample. You'll have to tell me what you think about that one. I'm not sure if you're saving it for a special occasion. If you're not, or don't mind having a little sip, maybe you can enjoy this with me and see if we get similar notes or if it's completely different. These bottlings, you never know. I've noticed with distilleries, you could get, depending on the cask, the core juice, of course, makes a difference, but what you do with that core juice makes a ton of difference as far as the years and the type of cask and environment, temperature, and all that stuff. So awesome. Welcome to the club. I'm putting in an order tonight myself. Oh, I hear you there. I'm debating what to get next. I'm looking at the list, and thankfully they do have a good list. I don't have my phone's charging over there somewhere, but I did look up, like, I'm trying to collect one bottle per distillery is my goal. And so far I only have 3. I'm going to go for whatever is the bottom available, like Glenfarclas is number 1. They haven't had a bottle of that in a while. They are coming out with one, I think, from what Ben was mentioning on the side a little bit. I think it might be a little bit before it's available, but that one I'd like to get. But whatever they have in the low numbers, I try to snatch up at least one bottle of and go to the next. And so far, so good. I've had a Glenlivet, which was, I think, 2. Glen Scotia, which is 93. I've had two different Glen Scotia. One was a sample, other than my own bottle, and it was excellent too. Both Glen Scotias were outstanding. Um, the third one is this Dalmore that we'll get into. Oh, you are grabbing that Glenfarclas, you bastard! Hey, DHS, good to see you. I'm glad that you got your order. I just got my order of scotches I asked you about your last stream. Pretty happy. Awesome. I'm glad I was hoping I steered you in the right direction. Glen Scotia Victoriana is amazing. Yes, it is. I'll be honest, the first time I tasted it, and before I spent any time with it, I was kind of hesitant to be like, "Oh, this is good." And I think it had the same kind of effect on me as the another one, the Glenlivet Code. The Glenlivet Code is similar in regard to it's more of a savory dram than a sweet dram to me, and it's very complex. So you really have to sit down and take your time to pull out all these subtle notes. And at first, I wasn't sure if they blended together very well. I was getting a ton of different things, but it was all kind of a little like a shotgun, a little bit all over the place until I sat down and I put a little drop of water to kind of get it all, I guess, flowing together. I don't know why that makes such a big difference on just one little bitty drop, even if it's 40%. You know, it's better if it's not, but if it is, just take one little drop and it can really open it up. The Victoriana is so much charred oak, but in the best way. It wasn't what I expected. Yeah, see, to me, I think the charred oak factor, when it's very overly woody, that turns me off a lot of drams. I don't like a lot of these, like Lafroy Triple Wood. It took me a while to find that sweet spot. After some water, I think it's for me, it's a lot better with these woody drams. With the Victoriana, yeah, it is really good at complex, even for NAS. I think it's well worth 90 to $100, whatever they usually go for. It wasn't overly woody though; it's just a lot of char. Okay, yeah, that one has a lot of savory though aspects to it that are not very sweet, and I think that's why I had such a rough time getting excited about getting more into it. But when I took my time, got the water just right, I made it perfect, and I think that it's got such a nice palette. Not talking taste palette, but color palette, that it gives an artist, which I think some, I don't call it sommeliers, but like people that really get into whiskey, I think it's an art to really get what you want out of a whiskey. And sometimes if it's already 40% ABV and there's not a lot of character there, you're given like a scratch piece of paper and one pencil that's black. That's all you got to work with. But sometimes, like with Victoriana, I think it's a good representation of a 128 box colored crayon set and a set of colored pencils on the side with the best sharpener and eraser and a big poster size piece of paper. And it really gives you a lot of tools to work with to make it what you really want. So I did get the chocolate creme brulee. Yeah, it is crazy complex. It whoppers and malted candies. Yeah, that it's literally all over the place, and I think it's almost like it's like a beautiful wild animal. You have to figure out how to cage it somehow to make it fit your palate better. I don't know if that's a good analogy or whatever, but I'm just going to stick with that and move on. I think you know what I'm trying to say, though. I'm glad it worked out. Deanston 12. That's one. I've had an 18, and I've had the 10PX and the 20 Oloroso, but I've never had their 12. That's one I got to get my hands on. It sounds good. I do love Whoppers. And anyone thinking Springbank Local Barley 9, that's going to be polarizing. Yeah, that yeah, the local barley I thought was great. Of course, is a straightforward bourbon-esque kind of cask, whiskey. But it just a lot of people really love that, and to me it was good, but it wasn't like the best of the best. I don't know that this was the 10 though. Going back a little bit, the 9 is a showcase of their new make. Okay, I'm interested. So I take it that you're not quite sure what to think of a DHS, or did you make a determination? I had the 10 was mine. Yeah, I like the 10. The 9, I was wondering if yeah. Are you still kind of on the fence whether you would recommend it to people or not? Is that why you say it's polarizing, or is it one of those drams where you find a lot of good things and a lot of bad things in it? What's the scoop on that? While you're talking about that in the channel, feel free to go ahead and talk about on the side. I'm going to take a dab at this Brora, and man, to the anonymous donor out there, you know who you are. I really, 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 with the line over it, appreciate the gesture and the. If I can somehow return the favor, I'll try and do it. I might not be able to do it until I can save some money, but you know how it goes when you're working and got kids and that kind of stuff. This gentleman's probably a little older, I'm assuming, but maybe he just got, he's doing very well at a young age. That's possible too. But either way, I think it's awesome that you're willing to share some of these great offerings that I would. There's just no way I'd ever be able to do it by myself. So. Cheers, and if you are enjoying a Brora by chance at the same time, hopefully this is similar to what you're experiencing. The color is outstanding. If you look on the Whiskey Base site, they have a picture of it, and it's like this glorious deep cinnamon red color, borderline like light brown, I'd say. I don't think that they would put, natural color. I mean, why would you even bother coloring a 26-year-old sherry butt whiskey, right? There's just no way. So let's go on the nose. I've had this poured out for quite a while, about 25 minutes, and man, it's the color is just unreal. It's a nice, like I said, deep red cinnamon color. Using my whiskey hats. Just got my cask 5 to the Scotch test dummies, giving them a little shout out on the side. I've got cask 1 here. I've always got 245, so 245 is my number, and forevermore, as long as they release them, I'm going to try to get that number with them. I've got 1 through 4 sitting here. They've got a nice little set. They got Bart's Tested on one side and the Slancha Dummies thing on the other side. They're pretty cool. They're good for Clarence to keep that great little bit of scent in the glass, so you can let it, air out when you want, let it build up when you want, and really, swish around, get that surface area nice and big, and get that great sherry nose, man. There's nothing wrong with that. It's the funny thing was the first note I thought I got were roses, which is really bizarre, but still enjoyed it. I'm not a huge floral note whiskey fan, but it has this nice balance between like a floral rose kind of scent and this beautiful sherry that's sweet yet still savory at the same time. I'm hoping that this is well, actually, if it's PX, I'll be happy, and if it's Oloroso, I'd be happy either way. It's smelling like a PX, but I could be wrong. And sweetness is kind of one of those tough things to factor when you're just nosing. Definitely there. Lots of red ruby fruits, strawberries and raspberries. In there. It looks like it's going to be a decent mouth coat too. It holds up very well. it doesn't have, I mean, it does have some legs, but the legs are really like slow run. ABV is 57.1, so that's probably why. um, like partially. I think it's going to be a medium mouth coat from just the looks of it. Really well done. That confection sugary deal, get some marshmallows even. If it wasn't for the color, it would remind me of like a Japanese whiskey almost. I'm not getting any peat per se, I don't think. A subtle smoke. The smoke is really light. It reminds me of like a Bunnahabhain, sort of. I mean, the peat you might be able to detect really slightly if you're really, really digging deep. I mean, Bunnahabhains that are, sort of unpeated, they're peated at like 3 ppm, which is really, really low. This, if there's any peat in here, it's extremely subtle. It's probably 2 or 3 ppm, maybe 5 at the most, I'm guessing. Very subtle in the smoke, but maybe enough to detect a little bit on the nose. It's shielded around with all the fruits and florals and cherry, and you can get a little chocolate, kind of a cocoa kind of a scent. Wow. It's like Valentine's Day in a glass. Let's catch back up on the note on the chat here real fast. 9 is a very different from 10, or on the hunt for the 9 and 11. DHS thinks it reminds him of a young peated Scotch. There's a new make element there. It's young, and the barrels are clearly second or third use barrels. Ooh, that's not so good. Most people don't want to spend $150 on young and cheap barrels. That's true. I like the spirit-led whiskey. No problem there. But there's something there on the 9, and it's good. It's just I went 50 for that. That's the issue. Yeah. 50 milliliter to work through. I get it. Okay. So you enjoy it. It's the price point that kills you. And I'm going to say this now. I am a huge Springbank fan. No, don't get me wrong. Springbank's no joke. They're one of my favorite distilleries. Campbelltown all the way. Springbank 10, solid. Springbank 12, cast strength, even better. 15 was kind of but their Burgundy 12, their Green 13, their Bourbonwood 14, they're pretty solid. Now, have I noticed that their prices are like above Glendronach prices? You better believe it. The Springbank 10 in Maryland, at least, averages around $70 to $75, which is crazy for a 10-year-old whiskey. I'm sorry, it just is. The 12 cast strength, you can get it for about $100. That's more of a fair price for what you're getting, I think. The other ones are reasonably priced as well. But some of these upper age Springbanks are once you get above like 12 to 15, it's kind of ridiculous. Now, this being a 9-year-old, you wouldn't think that they're going to price based on year, and they're not here. What they're getting you is that local barley, that it's almost like a brand within itself. When people that know whiskey, especially Scotch, when they hear the words Springbank local barley, it does something to you. If you're a bourbon, straightforward, no, I know, I forgot which one. I think the 10 might have had some sort of sherry influence to it, but it was so subtle. I'll be honest with you, I didn't get it. Was it worth the price? I think that one was like 180 when I got it. I think they're astronomically just too high for the age. Is it hard to do this local barley? I know they do everything themselves. There is an art to it. It's a craft. It's artisan and all that. Is there a price for that? There is. But DHS is saying that local barley is super expensive in terms but also even the cleaning of their equipment. Yeah, that's true. And if it is, I guess that's where the cost comes in, is the process. You're not paying for the age. You're not paying for the, like you talked about, the, how did you word it? The youth of the barrels, like the second, third use barrels. You're not paying for that. You're paying for this process. Now, is it worth 150 to 180, $190 to someone to taste that process? That's where I appreciate the effervescence you get from the brightness you get from the local barley. I do taste it. It's tasty. It's more an old world flavor, like DHS said. I think that's a good way to put it. The thing though is it worth 150 plus? I think I think it's reached its peak on if Springbank, if you're listening, Glengyle, whoever runs the show there, who you guys have played with the prices, I think, to the point where you've milked the consumer out of every possible dollar you can for what you're producing. I'd say maybe stick with this price for a while, because obviously if myself, DHS, and some other people are wow, yeah, the 10-year that is worth $300 probably not, isn't it? Yeah, that's the thing. It's like once they've released this also for, this is their third or fourth offering. They had the 16, they had the 10, the 11, the 9. I guess with their fourth go at this. I think also in time, the quality is just not going to be there. I mean, it's the same thing with some of these batches that we were getting, like the Abanaz and the cast strength Lafroigs and whatnot. I mean, sometimes you get lucky and you get an environmental factor for that year that's like ideal and everything fell into place and you get your 4-leaf clover. But most of the time, you use a second, third barrel, 3 or 4 times. It's like you're only going to get so much out of this. It's time for some new make. I mean, not new make, but new. What's the word for it? Getting the process where you can get back to the old stuff. It's trying to. I guess it's time just to sit on what we have and let it age. Maybe the 9 was a drop from the 10, but I've heard people liked the 10 more than the 16. That's wild. I'm glad I got the. I never had the 16 either. I'm glad I got the 10 when I had the chance, because I had the choice between the 11, the 10, and the 9. I think it was, and I chose to stick with the 10 because of just price / availability. 16 wasn't around. The 9 I think was new. The 11 was newer too. So the 10 was the one I thought. I think it was was that the second release maybe. I'm trying to remember. I think it was 16, 10, 11, 9, or was it 16, 11, 10, 9? I can't remember how they released these bourbon wood. I'm sorry, the local barley deals, but it could be another 10. Wow. It had to be pretty cheap for me to spend money on another 10. I mean, I know how much you like it. I think you should keep it for yourself, man. I'm not 16, 11. Yeah, 16, 11, 10, 9 sounds right. I just I think I stuck for the 10 because the 11 I think was there was more of the 11 available than the 10 or something. There's a reason I chose the 10. I think it was also because it had sherry minus one. I think I can't remember if it's the 11 and 9 or just the 11. One of them did not have any sherry involvement at all. I think it might have been the 11. I'd have to go back and look at all the notes on Distiller to remember all the differences, but that's another reason why I chose the 10. But I enjoyed it. It's been long gone for a while, and the 10 and 9 here, sure, okay, that makes sense. So, yeah, the 11, I was like, if I'm going to spend $180, $190 on something, I better have a little sherry in it. And sadly, I didn't even hardly get any taste-wise from it that I could detect. So, There you go. Maybe I had a bad off deal. It was early on in my whiskey experience, so I might not have had developed enough palate to even get all the stuff I was supposed to maybe at the time. But it's a tough one. Maybe get a sample or something from you to see if I get a different take on it. He says I've had the 10 local barley next to the 25 year and still take the 10. Wow. I have not touched the 21 or 25. That would be something else I'd love to get. Back to the Brora. Wow. Thanks again to I'll call him codename Alpha. That's his new name. Uh, Codename Alpha, this was a great, great send. I can nose this all night. Still getting the power of the floral fruit goody goodness with that slight touch of just elegant smoke in the background. I don't know what it is. It's like this is Brora is a, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, I hope I'm not mistaken. I think it's an Isla, right? Brora, isn't that a? Let's do a double check before we make ourselves look like an absolute idiot. Because this is not Isla like. What are we? Where is this? This is okay. It's known as Kleinleach back in the day, until Kleinleach opened up. Original name was changed to Brora. Okay. Most of the whiskey produced as Brora after 73 is the lightly peated Highland style. Okay. Well, I'm definitely getting a lightly peated, but Highland, huh? Yeah, old Kleinleach. So this is this a Highland then? That's what I'm assuming. No wonder I'm not getting any Isla notes like Port Ellen always. Hey, Trooper, good to see you, man. How's Louisiana? How's my oil? Yeah, Highlands. Okay, no wonder. Well, I'll tell you what, this definitely noses a hell of a lot more like a space side slash, because of the fruit, a space side like on Isla's doorstep kind of thing is what it's hot, I'm sure. That's what this brewer reminds me of, is like if you took a space side actually, put it right on the border of Isla, that's where I get from it, but I definitely could see the Kleinleach aspects because I noticed how heavy the mouth coat looked at first. A medium it was my first initial, and then I'm thinking, well, maybe it's a heavier because it did hold its shape so, I mean, for so long. That's amazing. Let's go back to well, I thought I heard about that. I forgot that Kleinleach was the, well, Brora was the old Kleinleach. That's oh, Ardbeg, no. Yeah, that's like the sweet minty white ashtray. That's like, if anyone wants me to describe it and know, that's what I get from it. I like it. It's a sweet minty white ashtray. I like it for what it is. Good summery dram if you want an Isla and don't want the heaviness. I think it's a good choice. I know some people aren't into it as much, but I enjoy a sweet Isla like that every once in a while. It's a hell of a lot better than Lefroy Select. I'll give them that. The reason they fired Brora back up was to produce peated spirit to address the shortage on Isla. Okay. That makes sense. Huh. It's now that it's set for a while, now I'm starting to get more of like a tobacco, like the dankiness that then is like kind of like a warehouse kind of thing. Not Campbelltown, but it's got some danky. I guess the age is showing itself now. Really, like I gotta have a taste. It's been so long. Ooh, neat. Whoa. Wow. That is something else. Wow. Holy moly. Holy gosh. Oh, that's like if you took a ball blair. Oh man, wow. Okay. The pallet's almost too much. I can't hardly handle it. You put a coin on top of that. Man, don't want to let anything evaporate out of that glass. That was good. Okay. 57.1 is it's got a little heat to it because it is cast strength, but neat. It is tasty. You get I'm like salivating just just talking about it. It's like I almost shot. Hate to. I don't mean gross, but slime is about to went everywhere. Okay. Wow. Okay. The creme brulee and the. I mean, you can almost taste the floral aspects here. It's the roses even. Edible flowers. That's crazy. I don't know. It's got the vanillas. It's got the creamy, great. Oh man, custardy. It's got butterscotch. It's got oh man, the fruits. The like a no, like a strawberry, but not like a crap strawberry ice cream, but like a really good fresh, like maybe strawberries and cream, I should say, not like artificial strawberry flavor. This is like the good stuff. Oh man, and that finish was like crazy good. I mean, right after the initial palate, went into this like raspberry sorbet with whipped cream and Jesus. This is. I mean, my wheelhouse is typically with Isla, so the Port Ellen was no joke, but this is even on another level. Like, holy hell, this is like twice as good, I think, than that Port Ellen. Just by my and it's weird because I don't get any. I mean, maybe a subtle smoke on the flavor, like a little bit of an ash at the very tail end of the finish, but thankfully not drying. Don't It's not overly dry. Man, it's impressive. I mean, this stuff is crazy on prices now. This particular bottle is found on 3 online shops, and the lowest price, I hate to say it, is 979 euros. That is crazy. I mean, is it worth it? I honestly couldn't tell you because I would never have that much money to spend on a bottle of whiskey. Uh, I tell you what, if to me $1,000 was more like $100 to me now, it'd be an easy buy. I'd be like, F yeah, all day long, yeah. So if you are the type of person that can look at $1,000 as $100, then you should get your ass to the somewhere an auction or somebody's house and beg them for that bottle of Brora because that shit is good without hesitation, without exaggeration. Oh my lord. Mm. It tastes unlike anything I've ever had too. It's not like no other. There is no Space Side, no Highland, no Isla, no Island, Campbelltown, nothing that tastes like that. It's its own. Even Kleinleach doesn't taste like that. It does have a nice mouth coat. It's not as thick as a newer Kleinleach, unfortunately. That is the only thing I can. I'm not going to say ding it, but like anything I would change. I might give it a thick, maybe even though it's already medium to heavy, maybe a slight thicker mouth coat. But I mean, it's pretty thick. It's thick enough. I'm not gonna bitch, that's for sure. Wow, I gotta add a drop or two to this because this is like something else. Okay, I gotta get my water thing. Give me 1 second. Water thing, where are you? Oh, there we are. Sorry about that. Okay. Had to get the good stuff. Hate not having the deal. Uh-oh, someone's nursing something. Started with a Tomatin 12 and finishing with the Ardbeg. Oh, cool. Yeah, hopefully heal up really quick, man. That would be awesome. All right. So get your dropper out. I like this thing because it can get to as fine as a dropper, but if I want to drop like a pretty good amount up to here in it, I can do that too. The little droppers that you sometimes get in the really nice whiskey bars, those are cool though because you can really like finite something. This you can do like one just fairly decent drop, but it's kind of good to have both. If you've got something like this and you have a more of a micro dropper or whatever you want to call it, this does the trick though for this because anything that has like a suction thing, you can really fine tune. I mean, I'm going to put 2 little bitty drops. I don't want to screw with that at all. Because if you destroy whiskey like that, you should have your hand amputated. I mean, that's just sacrilegious. Horrible. Okay, let's go back here. You can tell I'm excited. Man. Oh, definitely. No joke, man. All right. So we added a couple just little bitty baby drops there. If you're watching there, Aquaman, Mr. Lee. Oh, man. Cannot wait. Let's get our coin back here so we don't have to use our hand. Yeah, this is well received. Even better than the Port Ellen. Another unicorn dram bottle sample for me is the Rose Bank. If you have or have access to Rose Bank, especially if you have a whole bottle of something and you don't mind parting with, even if it's just a 2-3 ounce sample, little bottle, I would be in your. Oh, I would owe you something. I'd find something that I could give you, or maybe a lot of something. I don't know. We could do a definite treat of salsa somehow, but it's one of the very few distilleries I haven't had that's dead. I've had Dallas Stew, Pittivach. I've had the Little Mills, the Broras now, the Port Ellen. Rose Bank is one of those few that I haven't had that's big time. So that's going to be on the gotta get her done to-do list at some point. I guess when I'm like 80 and have nothing to spend money on, hopefully, maybe that's when I could buy a bottle and not get killed. If that would ever happen, I doubt it though. Oh man, that'd be one hell of a present though. Hint, hint, anybody that can send one my way. All right. Still got the really nice fruits, florals mixed with that tobacco. Subtle smoke. I think the water, unfortunately, brings out more of some more of the grassier herbal type of notes that I'm not real too keen on, but I mean they're there. It's definitely it definitely is complex and grows with a little couple of drops. I think I preferred the nose neat. Had some endangered stuff. Yeah, this is this has got to be the best distillery I've ever had, though, Brora, so far. I mean, I'm already a huge Kleinleach fan, so I shouldn't be that surprised, I guess. But with it not being in Isla and with it being like something out of the Campbelltown Isla region or even islands, I'm surprised that I'm that much into it. Huh. Hopefully, the palate doesn't go down with a couple drops like the nose does. Thankfully, I didn't use a whole lot to experiment with. Perfect palate. Maybe just a drop or two more for the palate, but oh man, it's got two. It's got like most of the time when you taste a whiskey, and some of you guys that have had cast strength whiskey over the years, maybe you get this a lot more often. Um, I don't think so, though. Wow. With this whiskey, you don't just get one palate, you get two. You get like this first initial wave of the fruits and the caramelization, the cream, the custard, and it grows really fast. It's like pre-finished though. Then it's like this big mouthful of like the best like trifle. I'm not sure if any of you guys have had oh man. I'm not sure if you guys have had any trifle, which is a British dessert, but it's like the smooth, fruity whipped cream. Oh man, raspberry, strawberry, without the seeds, which is really good. And the finish lasts for pretty good, but then it does kind of just taper off. The finish itself isn't long. It's that initial second. Maybe I should just call it the finish. The finish happens fast, is great, but doesn't last forever. Like a lot of Lagavulin 16 kind of thing. Unfortunately, because that's probably the best one finishing whiskey I've ever had. Even to this day, I every time I sit down with a whiskey, whenever I want to think about the finish and how good it is, I compare it to the 16 because I'll never forget the first time I had it, and probably because one of my very first Scotch experiences was sitting at a restaurant that was specifically Cambodian, and having this really nice fish with mango rice, really spicy Cambodian Thai type of dish. I think it might even have been like a peanut type of thing involved with it. Really tasty, well done with that Lagavulin 16 on the side. And man, did that whole meal was just perfect. Retriever's asking about this SMWS. Now, right now I'm tasting the Brora, which is completely different. The SMWS one, that was only, I think, about 80 to it wasn't it wasn't on the higher end. I think it was like 120. Well, it's high, for most of your basic scotches, but for your, you know, starting to get good around $100, it's a 120. I think it's especially for cask strength 13-year-old. I think it's more than reasonably priced, and we'll get into that next after I have a couple more sips of this Brora, and we'll talk about the blind tasting here in a second too. Time is just flying by. Wow. Codename Alpha, cheers to you, my friend. I wish you a great, outstanding summer and winter time as well. Hopefully, I'm not going to say where you're from, but I know about your area very well, and hopefully we can hang out someday. That'd be cool. This is just absolutely unreal how good this is. I mean, it's sad because in a way it makes me really envious because I would do anything to be able to sit down and have a bottle of something like this. I don't even know. I mean, I could make it last for a while, even if I had a sip every other day. But man, that would be just unreal how great that would be because the taste is almost undescribable. Yeah, Cambodian food is great, and they don't have very many restaurants in DC that are outside the box, other than some of the typical cultures you run into. But they do have that. I think it's called like Tap Cow. It's a really good Cambodian place in DC in the Columbia Heights area. So if you're ever in the DC area and you want some Scotch and you want some good Cambodian food, there you go. It's definitely well done food. I've been a couple times. Only reason I don't go more often is I only work in DC. I don't live there or near there. Even I drive hour and a half away to where I live. So yeah, for single cask strength whiskey, it's not unreasonable at all. Especially when even though you do pay for shipping, if you get a couple bottles, they send it right to your house, and you get it a couple days later. I mean, what else do you want? Latin says he hasn't had any Springbank yet. Super limited availability in Ontario and absolutely stupid prices. You've never had a Springbank Loch Ness. Wow, man. I feel bad for you. We got to get Loch Ness a care package. We got to get this guy something. If you, trying to think of how we can organize something. We got to at least get Loch Ness like a 10, a 12 cast strength, and just something else off the wall, like a burgundy or a green or a bourbon or a local or something, unless you want to go. I would skip the 15, maybe an 18. I'm not sure if the 18 is worth it. Yeah, tons of Vietnamese restaurants in DC. That's true. That's true. There's tons of Vietnamese restaurants. It seems like everywhere. There's even around here where I live, and this is more of a rural area, so that tells you something. But yeah, what's your take, guys, in general? What's your take on the Springbank 18? Now, I know a 15 didn't wow a lot of us like the 10, the 12, and some of the other ones do. But yeah, maybe next S4D swap. That's not a bad idea. We got to get Loch Ness. Someone, I'll have to. Maybe I should talk with the Scotch for Dummies and say, hey, guys, can one of you somehow make it where we have more of a, I don't know, like a specific way to get somebody something that they haven't had. Whiskey's never had one either. Jesus, man, what's wrong with you people? and Troopers never had the 18. Jason Coates has probably had the 18 and the 21. I'm guessing. DHS, if you're still there, have you had the 18? And if you you haven't had the 18 yet either. Wow. No one's had the 18 here. I guess I'll be the first one to try it out and see if it's any good. Wow, seriously. Oh, okay. That's no problem, DHS. Who else is on? I'm just curious. Not that I'm not looking to start any issues, but I was just curious. I didn't want to like step on anybody's toes. I thought no one was really doing anything this time of night on a Tuesday. Hopefully it's not somebody I know. If it's Rob, sorry, Rob. I didn't know you were on tonight, man. I didn't know you had your regular schedule. He's the only one I could think of that might be on Tuesdays. Aquavite's on early, so I don't think it would be him. I'm just curious. I was going to try to get with another guest like I had Rabbit last week, which was really fun. And Rabbit, if you're watching, thanks again for doing it. I need to write you an email and say thanks in general. And actually, I just need to call you because we were talked about maybe getting together and going down to Jack Rose or something. But I'll have to try to organize something with him. Nope to either. Wow. Okay. Rock Gut is on, and then Whiskey, Bourbon Junkies, and Mash and Drum are combining. Oh, okay. Well, thankfully, I don't know any of those guys, so I don't feel bad. Good question. I thought you were the one. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, the bourbon guys, I'm sure are fine, but I usually stick to Scotch, so I'm not even sure who the Rock Gut person is. I'll have to look into that. Mash and Drum, I've heard. I think that's another Jason. There's so many Jasons out there. That's why I go by Telex. We've got Jason Whiskey Wise. We've got Whiskey Jason. We've got there's so many Jasons. Thankfully, Jason Coates is the only one I think that goes by Jason other than Whiskey Wise. So Rock Gut is newish. Is he an all of the liquors kind of guy, or does he just do Scotch? Or I'm just curious. There are more and more channels going on these days. Just do everything on the reviews side, everything else. Yeah, that's what I pretty much have decided to do. Because I'll be honest with you, after I ran the Gambit, did a bunch of reviews on Distiller, and I did my show for over a year doing reviews, I thought maybe I've kind of run the Gambit and I've just done about everything, and I never really had a huge viewership, so maybe it's time just to shut her down. But I enjoy just hanging out, and this is kind of like my community. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of people that I know that drink whiskey around where I live, so this is my way of hanging out with the guys. And I wish we could play poker while we were chatting. That's the only thing I'd change, is maybe play a game or shoot some darts or something. But I enjoy it, so I miss doing this for fun. I'd love another 21, just one in the bunker. Oh, I was looking for a 21 Old Pulteney. I haven't seen that in the wild in a while. I do know one place that might still have it in Maryland. I do actually know a place that might still have it. It's this off the wall, uh, like place that you normally wouldn't find a lot of whiskey, and uh, they have some gems surprisingly. Hey Ben, good to see you. Glad you stopped by. Speaking of Ben, let's get to the Dalmore while I'm thinking about it too. And this is glorious, and I'm going to put a hat on this so I don't waste any of the Brora, man. It's hard to say no to Brora, Ben. I'm sure you can understand that. Hopefully, you guys have some Broras that are affordable. Probably not, because they are a dead distillery, and I'm sure that anything you guys have is probably 20 plus years old. So it's probably going to be very difficult. But someday, hopefully, I can get a Brora from the SMWS. That would be something else. Yeah, water didn't hurt. Didn't bring really anything else out, but was I missing anything? Hell no. It was perfect the way it was, really. Even at a hot 57.1. All right. Well, thank you so much for stopping by, Ben. Great appearance during Boom. That's cool. Yeah, I was wanting to do the 12 hours of Boom like I did the first year, and made it through all 12 episodes, watched, hung out with the dummies, had a great time, even won a few things. And this last year, I'm a ham radio guy, so I have an antenna up in a tree. I've been trying to get moved up, and the tree guys keep canceling on me. So they were going to come out, and it started raining, and then it got sunny. So I thought, well, surely they're going to show up, but they never did. So my 12 hours of Boom was completely screwed from that. But it is what it is. Let's have a little palate cleanse while we're switching. Yeah, last year, I think I was out of town, but the first year I did, it was great. Had a hell of a time, and still hang out with Scott and Bart as far as like talk, and whenever I get a chance to at least comment on their channel if I see something they're doing that I like or whatever. But it's hard to get out and do other channels while you're doing your own thing too some of the time. But they've always been great from the beginning. They've always been encouraging, and really appreciate them. That was just some water to cleanse the palate. I even have a picture of the shrine. If you can barely see right there, that's Scott and Bart. They signed a picture for me when I got I think I won like one of their first things that they were doing their live show or something, and sent me this a tap for our barrel they signed too. It was really cool. Anyway, let's look at this puppy. Wow. And I'm so glad, no offense to whoever owns Dalmore. I forgot who it was. Is it Diageo? Do they own Dalmore, or is this somebody else? I can't remember. Oh, I'm having a mind blank there, but hopefully they don't get on me too much for saying this, but this is what Dalmore should taste like. I was excited to finally get my hands on a non-colored, non-chill filtered, age statement, pure from the barrel, no frill spills, anything crazy. Dalmore. And this is the 13.65. Peppery pears and pralines. That's alliteration for you guys. Pa. And I was really excited to get into it, not knowing what to expect. Now, my only yeah, sorry about switching nights on you there, Trooper. I did it because I was kind of forced to. It's a long story, but I think everything worked out for a reason and for the best, So anyway, yeah, Independent Dalmore is fantastic. Well, this is one of my only times I've ever tried it, and I'm glad I did, because short story is I went for the Dalmore 18 with the normal price of 160, and they jacked it up to like 210 plus. And I'm like, not when I can get a pure, pure form for 110, 120. It doesn't make sense to spend that kind of money. It's 43%. It's colored. It's chill filtered. It barely had, it has an age statement that barely gets yourself out the door, and you're still spending over $200 for it. I don't think so. Wow. Trooper says, Caden hit 727 casting for 286. That's a great deal. Yeah. Similar with these guys. So it goes to show, go get an independent bottling, and this will tell the distillery that you like their juice. You just don't like the way they're presenting it or pricing it as much as this other guy does. So cheers to that. And Jason Coates says he's got a 13.57. Oh, that's an older one right there. Very happy with it. What's it like, Jason, out of curiosity? Notes, you don't have to go into crazy detail, but just like, a few notes on the nose, few notes on the palate, what you thought the finish was like, if you remember. And I'm going to do the same thing with this guy. As any cast strength normally would do, it shows, it holds its shape really well. Looks like at least a medium mouth coat when I first take a look. Even though it's not colored, I mean, for 13 years, that's a great color for a 13-year-old whiskey. That's what I want it to look like. I don't want it to look like somebody took a piss in the Glencairn, or somebody cut themselves and bled all over the place into the Glencairn or something. Some of these crazy colors they come up with some of these crazy colors, man, are just insane. I want it to look pure. I want it to look right. This is what it should look like. Wow. Those legs are something else, man. Thick and slow. That's beautiful. Yeah, I don't know if you can really see or appreciate the legs on the top of that glass there, but wow. The only, I don't want to say, let me show Jason's comment here. 1 second. It got filtered probably because he said heavy. It's heavy on fresh peach and mango, vanilla custard, ginger, and nutmeg. Really juicy. It's cricket bat in the mouth. Wow. That sounds excellent, though. I'll see the combination of flavors these guys somehow you guys find it. And I don't see how you guys, I mean, Ben, like when you go and do, when you looked at that 93, the one you just did, the Glen Scotia, the one you picked, the barbecue and the fishnet still, which hopefully you checked out that show if you haven't already. How did you pick it? How do you pick a cask when you guys look at one? I'm assuming you just, take a sample just like anybody else would, and having to pay, Sir Richard Patterson to throw that wonderful Beatles on his frog. Yeah, that's when I think marketing, there needs to be a line drawn, because I appreciate good marketing. When you look at a bottle like this, as you look at the logo, you look at the numbering scheme, you look at the fonts that are used, you look at the colors that they use, you look at the descriptions. That is what good marketing looks like. When you pay a guy literally to go around, act like, I hate to say it, I don't know the guy, he might be the nicest guy in the world, but they pay him to act like an absolute tool, just throwing whiskey around and being silly and all that, and the whole coloring thing and the whole, price gouging basically and all that. Just to get a bottle with a deer stag on it, I'm sorry, it just doesn't make sense to me at all. It's a waste of money. It doesn't, I mean, it might appeal to some, I guess it appeals to some people, that's why they do it, but Jesus. Sorry, I'm getting off my soapbox now, because it's just crazy. Yep, it's great. Regret only buying one. That's the tough thing about SMWS bottles. It's like, I'm actually glad that some of you guys don't buy 10, 12 bottles. Like, I know a couple of you guys out there personally that do that, because they make it really hard for me the guy that can only, get the one bottle if I'm lucky to even get one period. Because when I turn around and I look on the site for SMWS, they're sold out like the next week. You can't keep up with these guys. It's crazy. All right. Not a complaint on this one. The nose was really subtle to me. When I first cracked it open, I poured it, I let it sit out for 15 minutes, let it air out, put the hat on it for a little while. I came back in with the nose, and I get a nose, but man, do I have to dig for it for some reason. The taste is completely different, outstanding, great. So don't think I'm knocking it. You get like a really good ton of black pepper and white pepper for that matter. You can tell it's spice central in there. You don't get, I mean, you get some subtle vanillas and subtle, get like, do get the pear and some of the white grapes and the fruit. But it's really, it's got this dome of spice that's on top of it. And I think it's there because of what they were going for taste wise. They probably had to get that level of spice in there where it affected the nose a bit, but now it's had a little more time to breathe even more. The air does help it bring out some more fruit. So this, if you go in for a nose and you're like, I'm missing something. What's not there? Give it some more time, and typically, the next, it might not be every time you go in for a nose, but you'll get a better nose, fruit related wise, if you give it some time to get a little more oxygen. Yeah, I think it's going to be about a medium. We're going. Woo, going in to eat. Oh man, that's where I'm talking about. That's where, regardless of whatever SMWS bottle you're doing a nose for, if you're ever not quite sure, hesitant, go for the palate. I guarantee you will not be disappointed. I've yet had a bottle like to disappoint me. Oh man, spicy goodness. That white and black pepper is there, but the fruits are definitely more in your face on the palate. And you get this really, really well done, nutty Danish type pastry. And it's not apples, but it's more of the pear. The pear is, I think, probably the most prevalent fruit, but it does have some vanilla custardy pastry aspects to it. With the savory spice, it also has some ginger, and it gets a little sweeter on the finish, almost like a gumdrop. It does have a little bit of a drying quality at the end, but it's not so much where it dries you up like, you're on the desert, which I don't enjoy when it is that dry. This is a little more forgiving, I'd say. This is going to be second fill barrel and ex-bourbon casks. Distilled 2005, May the 12th, and it's a Highland. One of 155 bottles. And last I looked, they still had at least a few up there. Now, it is one of the more drying finishes. So if you're not looking maybe for that particular note, you might want to skip this particular one. But if a subtle dryness doesn't really throw you off, if you like the spice, I mean, there's even nutmeg and along with the white and black pepper, maybe even some like subtle nutmeg, and there's something else too. I want to say there's couple herbal things going on. Some grasses too. It's not really overly malty or definitely not as sweet as a lot of drams could be, but it's got the right amount of sweetness, the right amount of savory notes, the right amount of spice, well balanced. So it definitely has a lot of good things going for it. I mean, it's not 100% my wheelhouse, I will say. Do I wish there was a slight peatiness to it? That would be nice. Do I wish it had a little smoke to it? That would be nice. You know, but a Dalmore is not that. This is more, of a really good representation of what a true, well done Highland whiskey is supposed to be. This reminds me of like a Dalwhinnie. Honestly, it has that kind of. The 15 Dalwhinnie is what this is more, I think, comparable to, uh, with more spice, more character, definitely more strength. So if you were always wondered what would it be like to get a Dalwhinnie 15, but have it at cast strength level with a little more oomph to it, a little more, girth, this is what I think you're going to get in a bottle. It sounds strange to compare a Dalwhinnie with a Dalmore, but I think at their core, Highland esque level juice, I think is comparable. But did I miss the hello? How are you like, or is that forthcoming to us? Yeah, I said hi, Ben. I don't know if you didn't see it earlier, uh, or didn't hear me, but yeah, I said welcome to the show, and I appreciated you stopping by. And how are you doing? Hopefully, you're doing well, and that's why I shot in straight into the taking a look at this SMWS. I wasn't sure if that was bad or good. I thought, well, what the hell? But yeah, I did say hello when you came in. Sorry that I wasn't a little more, what's the word for it? Explosive in delivery. Mm, okay, I got you. Sorry. Yeah, he's something else, man. A lot of went into it. Part what gets me excited, part what I anticipate everyone else would love. Also, great value, which is important most everywhere. Yeah, yeah. The Domini 15 is really easy drinking stuff, but see, I chose that to compare it to this because um oh, he always says hello, how are you to his door. That's funny. um the Domini 15, it might be an easier drink to some people, but as an Isla Campbelltown guy, I still appreciated Dalwhinnie 15 because of the flavor, the character. It When I first tasted it, the song Southern Cross from Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young popped in my head because I could picture myself sitting on a badass yacht, enjoying like midsummer day sun, some clouds in the sky, cruising along the Atlantic Ocean, listening to that song, sipping a Dalwhinnie 15. It just felt right. It just had that kind of feel to it. This is not easy drinking, I would say, as far as like this is a lot more powerful than a typical Dalwhinnie 15, even with flavor, even more so. It's like even a whole nother level, another notch. Oh man, I know best that you thought I was demanding a more enthusiastic greeting. Well, I'll be honest. At first, I was like, "How did he not know I said hi to him when he came in?" No, it's good, man. It's totally good. I'm sorry. I don't. It's funny because I have sat down and actually forced myself to watch that Richard Patterson do a show and an interview. He was interviewing this lady, and once he got to the whole throwing it and spitting it out and all that weird shite, I want to say. But as soon as I saw him doing that, I was like, "This is not for me." I see. I appreciate and respect the art form of whiskey making. I think it's an art form, and I don't want to like overcomplicate it. I don't think it's I just think that it should be appreciated because it's expensive. I mean, some of these guys I know they can just piss all over $10,000 bills sitting on a table somewhere, but hell, that ain't gonna happen here. It sure as hell, shouldn't happen when you got people that can barely scrape enough money to get a $30, $40 bottle of White Walker. I mean, that's just something's not right about that. Especially if you're someone that appreciates this stuff and you still can't get the good stuff. That's what really hurts. Is when you see people throwing whiskey and spitting in it on stuff or acting like it's a big joke. It's like, come on now. It's supposed to be fun, but it's I think of it more as more serious fun. More, I'm sitting down to talk to somebody in Bangladesh on the radio. I'm gonna sit down and give it my best shot. I'm gonna, I might not succeed. I might not taste every note that I want to get out of this, but at least I'm gonna put my full effort into it and give it a good try. Yeah, I wish the nose was a little more profound, but the palate makes up for it and then some. And the fact that it's not overly drying, it's a great taste. I'm really glad I brought it with me to a vacation recently. The power went out in our hotel, which is really crazy. We're staying up at Seven Springs, which is a resort up in mountain area in Pennsylvania near Pittsburgh. And thankfully, it was one night. But I tell you what, I had this whole bottle with me. I had a Glencairn, and I went outside on the balcony, and we had this mountainside view of just the landscapes and stuff, and it was outstanding. It was perfect. It was quiet, and I got to sit down with this bottle and really get all the. I mean, the praline on the bottle speaks for itself. The savory, nutty, fruity, peppery goodness that comes out of it is pretty much well done. That's yeah, nose might beef up a little bit somehow, but finish might make a little less dry. But if that's all I'm gonna pick apart, then I think we've got a definitely a winner here, especially for 120. That's no joke. I mean, this is one of those that should be 150 to 160 in my opinion. I think they could probably well deservingly justify a price of that point to especially if it hit that 15-year level. I think they have something special with that. I'm not sure if they use Ben. You might be able to tell me. Do you guys use like whatever you used for this particular bottle, the 13.65? Is it completely like dismantled, put away, or do you use certain aspects of the cask or the system, the process? Are you able to use that and go with another Dalmore or even another distillery that's kind of the same thing? Or how does that work? Do you guys just, once it's there for the bottles, it's gone, it's completely gone, nothing like it ever again? Does it work like that? Or do you guys still have some that you're aging even more, like this 13.65? Is it still aging somewhere where you might get a 15, 20, even 25 to 30-year-old version out of it at some point? Do you guys ever do that? I'm just curious. Well, that was excellent. Now, I think we're going to talk about this blind test that I recently did and did really well with. It was my third one. Like I said earlier when I started the show, I wanted to talk about how I've improved my game this third time of going through these. My friend Pranny sent me a nice little deal, and we're going to take a look at 5 different offerings. He sent a box with a card, and not these letters were not there yet, but it just had the names that you see here. And I would try to read this, but it's actually backwards on my screen. But this will give you, you know, a good look of what was there. Been saying generally once the sample passes the test, the entire cask is bottled and offered up to members. Wow. Okay, so it's not sitting anywhere anymore, and it's not sitting anywhere getting more age, unfortunately. But you've taken an example of what it was great at the time. You put it all together and you put it to the masses. I applaud that. I think that's well done. It's a shame that you guys couldn't get two of them and have one to completely sell, one to, you know, put on the back burner for another 5 years. But on average, the same cask will be presented for the taste panel several times over several years before it's approved. Interesting. Let me take care of something real fast. Okay, sorry about that, guys. I had a little issue I had to take care of. But on average, the same cask will be presented for the tasting panels. Okay, so that makes sense. You take your time before you offer it, but once you offer it to the masses, it's there for everybody. That makes sense. That makes sense, and you're testing it over time to see if it's getting better, not getting any worse, getting worse, or whatever. Hopefully it doesn't get worse. Someone here to take care of. Yeah, I already did. Anyway, should be hidden at least. Let's see. We should probably go ahead and remove him too if we can. Let's make sure I get the right deal here. There we go. I think that worked. Hopefully. But that's unintentional. What's unintentional, Ben? Yeah, I mean, definitely if you're talking about the cast getting worse, you definitely don't want it to start going downhill. I'm assuming once you hit that first year where you're like, well, it hasn't really changed much, or it's not getting any better. I'm not sure how they factor in, make the determination, but I would definitely pull something if it was great the first, even if it was 5 or 6 years. I know you guys have really good 3 years. Even I've had an Eden Mill that was excellent. A Linkwood that I think that was 3 years old that was excellent. Um, but yeah, I mean, once you've hit 4 or 5, if it's the same, or that first year it's kind of not been as good as the last one, I would think that's when you guys would probably drop it. But I'm not sure. Let me know if that's the case or not. Anyway, but hopefully you got a good look at the card that I held up a little bit ago. But he sent these 5. 291 Colorado American whiskey. Wow. Don't know anything much, not much about American whiskey, but that the same cask is presented to the panel multiple times. It just so happens to be the case with most, that they're not ready for the first or second time. Oh, gotcha. That makes sense. Hey, Donner, good to see you, man. So we got the 291 Colorado American whiskey was the first one. That Batiki whiskey, a 50-year-old blend batch 1, was thrown in there. I was like, wow. A Hazelburn 14 Oloroso matured. A Kilchoman STR cask, which is their new staved. What is it? I keep forgetting. Let's look it up real fast. STR. Shaving, toasting, and recharring. Sorry about that. I thought it was staved, but shaving is probably the same thing. Shaving, toasting, and recharring of the hogshead. That the red wine hogsheads, what they're using for their cask. 50% ABV, and but last but not least, then he threw in a Casa Amigos Reposado tequila. And I'm like, well, at least he threw me one straight ahead easy pitch. I should be able to get that easy. So when when you're doing a blind tasting, the best way to approach it that I've kind of figured out, this might be my third one, and finally nailing 100%, was starting off. I mean, when it's completely blind, it's really hard to, if they don't give you any hints, they don't give you any names, they don't give you any cast types. That's when and that's the one that I really did not do all that well with, because I didn't have anything to really base it off of. But this one I had more of an idea. The 291 Colorado American whiskey, that one I thought, well, that's the one I probably will not like out of the five. I'm sorry, the four that are left, minus the tequila. Tequila I like, but it's not anything like the other ones. So out of those four, I thought, well, the Colorado I should be able to determine just being by my least favorite. The problem was with that particular offering. Not only does the STR cask have charred, type of casks that are used, this Colorado 291 Colorado whiskey is also deeply charred American white oak finished with toasted aspen stage. So it's like, wow, it's also deeply charred. So that might be tough to discern, the Kilchoman from that one. But it's American whiskey versus Kilchoman, and I love Kilchoman. I should be able to tell the difference, you would think, right? Also, that Patiki whiskey 50-year blend batch one. Now that is 50 years old. When I'm looking at that one, I'm going to look for complexity. I'm going to look for not just getting bourbon-esque type notes, or not just getting, sherry or one, even Oloroso, whatever. I want to make sure there's fruits, there's florals, there's herbals, there's vegetative, there's maybe even some slight smoke or peat. There's a little bit of everything involved, because it's so complex. At it being 50 years old, you think you could find that. Now, next, the Hazelburn 14 Oloroso matured. That's another tough one. They're all about the same ABV. They're all around 50%. So I can't use strength, the character as the determination of which one's which. The years are a bit different, so the complexity I can use. What else can I use? Oloroso sherry. That has a very distinct taste and smell to it. So by now, thankfully, I can tell the difference between Oloroso and PX sherry and other sherries like Amontillado, the marzipan kind of notes, and especially on the palate. It's harder to do on the nose alone, but the palate is easy for Oloroso PX to be distinguishable, because the Oloroso is more savory, less sweet, like a PX would be. Amontillado has that nice, real marzipan-y, almondy character to it. If it was Fino, it'd be drier, saltier, more acidic. So you learn these different attributes when you're doing these different ones. And then you've got the Kilchoman STR cask we just talked about. That's going to be a charred deal. Now, let me look at the Hazelburn. I don't think there's any charred aspects to it, but let me just double check before I say that, because I did notice a lot of woody notes were going to be all over the place in this sample deal. Let's do Oloroso 14, and this is just Oloroso cast type, no charring. So that's another aspect I looked for, not just the Oloroso, which one does not have that oaky charred kind of flavor to it. We already talked about the Kilchoman STR cask. For that smoke, I'm looking for the heaviest of the smoke, a little bit of peat, the Campbelltown-esque aspects of what makes a Kilchoman. I typically, minus the port cask type Kilchoman, every other Kilchoman I can tell by just the nose that it's a Kilchoman. That's how discernible, that's how easy it is to really weed out which one is which. And of course, the tequila, that was the no-brainer. So when I sat down and I had ABCD, I thought, well, let's just do that like that. Let's just do ABCD, E, and see where I can place them. And thankfully, A nosed it right away. Bam, tequila. I could tell by the nose, especially by the taste, of course. And the Casamigos Raspado tequila was actually pretty good. It was a white tequila. I'm used to using just the gold stuff that you would make like in screwdrivers, that kind of thing. But it was tasty. What stood out about it, it had a smoky character to it. It was well refined. It had some extra notes than what a typical tequila would have. It had like some smokiness and some like herbal things going on in it. And I thought it was a good taste. I could drink it straight and appreciate it. And I would feel bad to put that with any juice or mix it with anything. So I think there was a little bit of a quality there to it. I tried to look some details up on it. I didn't really see anything other than I know it wasn't a distiller yet or anything, so I didn't really, Trooper Sam McCarthy's is a really great peated American peated whiskey. I think that's the one that uses Lagavulin peat, if I'm not mistaken. It tastes a lot like a Lagavulin, but it's maybe not as good slash refined maybe as a Lagavulin. I don't know, but compared to a Lagavulin 16, what do you think, Trooper? If you took the McCarthy's, I've heard that they use that peat and they carry it over here and do their distillation, but I don't know any other details other than what I've heard with that. I haven't tried it. It is on my to-do list to try to give it a good try and see if I like it or not. Anyway, so we went from A, we went to B, the Kilchoman STR cask. And I swear to God, as soon as I took the bottle, I just took the top off and I just gave it a smell. I'm like, that's a Kilchoman. Thankfully, it was not like the port cask that threw me completely off. Did not know what the Kilchoman port cask was. One of the very few ones, as you can tell, I'm a Kilchoman fan. All the other ones, besides that port one, I could detect it just from the nose. And just to make positively certain, as soon as I tasted it, bam, Kilchoman all the way, no questions asked. It was so good that I thought I have to add this to my collection back here. I'm missing a color or two, as you can tell. Well done. We'll do that one hopefully soon. Next, Hazelburn, 14-year Oloroso matured. C. And when I did the nose, I was like, ooh, I think that this is Oloroso sherry. I know it's sherry. Is it Oloroso? Let's have a taste. And sure enough, as soon as I tasted it, bam, that told me that this was the Hazelburn. To an extent, I was worried like hell that I was going to get the Hazelburn 14 Oloroso mixed up with that 50-year-old blended batch one thing because it is excellent whiskey, even though it's a blend. Thankfully, the Oloroso saved me because when you go to D, which is that complex blend batch one, man, does it have a boatload of notes on it. I did get all the fruits that I wanted, and the florals, and the herbals, and the vegetative, and even some sulfuric, slightly, very, very minimal, not like a Ben Nevis or Glenturret type of funk, but had had a little bit of everything in there, but really well done, very tasty. I have it right here. I'll be sipping that just to give you an idea of what the color is. Let me pour a little bit. Have a little sip of this stuff too, because this is no joke. This is Prane. This was the good stuff, man. I really appreciate you sending some salsa like that. You don't have to do it, my friend, and I hope that you enjoyed what you received on your side, and a really nice color. It's 50 years old. That's not, colored or chill filter or anything. This is cast strength, good stuff here. Oh man, it's just a potpourri of. I'll use malt from Port Ellen. Oh, okay. Well, I knew it was Isla, but I didn't know it was Port Ellen versus the Lagavulin deal. Yeah, but it's awesome. Third price is Lagavulin. I bought it for $29. Should have bought a case. Wow, I'm gonna have to get my hands on that stuff if it's that good. I'll try it. What do you think, Jason? Do you think it's quality whiskey? I mean, I'm sure it's worth $30. I would think. I would hope. I know Trooper knows. Well, he thinks it is. So, what do you think, Jason? Do you think it's worth $30 that you can get for it? Mm. What's great about a whiskey like that, even though I'm not a big grain fan or um, not even really, I mean, I appreciate a well done blend like a Compass box, but I don't collect them. If I did, you know, I would I'd be so poor, it'd be sad. But that is really good, really well done, and it was just a no brainer. And then once I got to the Colorado, it just the nose was this is E. The nose was good. So at first I was like, "Ooh, this is going to be hard." I mean, is this going to be the 50? Is this going to be the 14? Is this going to be the Colorado? Is this going to be tough? The nose didn't really. It was pleasant enough. It had the typical aspects of a decent 10, 12-year-old Scotch on the nose, but it didn't really have anything else, screaming anything. So I thought, well, surely this is not the 50-year-old. And surely it's not refined enough to be a 14. It's got to be the American because it didn't have the smoke character and char that the Kilhoman had. So it certainly isn't any damn tequila. So by definition, by just sheer elimination, I had to think that it was leaning towards the Colorado. And as soon as I tasted it, that's where it was a dead giveaway. The taste just wasn't there. The palate was just very, very oaky, woody. Even with a couple drops, it just didn't bring it up, for me to get into. Jason says, "Hell yes!" At 30, thinks the McCarthy's is worth it. But haven't tried it. There's a bottle from 2011 at a shop here. I keep almost buying it. Clear by for $30. Yeah, that would be one of the ones. If I was going to the store and I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to get the best bang for $30 I can get, and I've already had the double black, and I've already had the monkey shoulder. I've already had the Glendulin Game of Thrones bottle, and I've had a lot of $30 whiskeys. That would definitely be on the top of the two try series. I would have to say, pretty sure. But that's how you do it. You basically, if they're reasonable enough to give you a list at least of something, even if they don't give you the distillery, they just give you the cask type, or they just give you the year, or they just give you whatever it may be. Use it to your advantage to weed out the aspects of what it's supposed to taste like, and go to the next factor. And surely after you've thought, okay, well, the age is this, the ABV's got to be this, the cask type's got to be this, the sherry type's got to be this, it's Scotch versus American versus Swedish even. I mean, you think about all the little factors involved. I know it's easier said than done, but I think I finally got a knack for weeding out during a blind tasting which ones are going to be what. The harder ones are ones where you get like a group, and I'm going to do this hopefully for some folks, maybe get a group of peated whiskeys or a group of sherried whiskeys and be like, okay, this one is a Highland peated. Um, Maybe give them a year to help them out a little bit. This one is a Speyside peated. This one's an Isla peated. This one's Campbelltown peated. And this one is a Islands peated. Maybe one's a Talisker, one's a Springbank, one's a Laphroaig, one's a Benriach, and one's God, Highland Peats are going to be tough to think of one on top of my head, but I'm sure there's one out there. Think of one, put it in there. But that's what I was thinking, or find some sherried stuff like an Abinah, maybe a Macallan Edition 2. Something like a Glentronic 18, and Hmm. Sherry goodness. It's a tough one. Maybe something with Isla would be kind of tricky because the peat would so much give it away. You almost have to find like a little slightly peated or unpeated sherried Isla version. But at 30, I'd have bought it, but they went 50. Wow. For peated whiskey, I get it. It's aged 3 years McCarthy's, but I promise you, think it's a 16-year Lagavulin. It doesn't scare me. I know better. I love the back and forths you guys do sometimes. Yeah, young whiskey can be really good, man. Young whiskey can be really bad. It brings me back to some recent inaugurals. Elisa Bay was a good one. Offenburg, not so good. Daphne, that was a good one. What's another one that wasn't so good? The King's Barn and the what was the other one I recently did that was a new Artematurin? Those were okay. They were like 3 stars. They were like not great like the Lisa Babe, not bad like the Avendurg. They were kind of like in the middle of the road. Those were some new ones I did recently. I remember getting into. So I'll have to try the some new ones. They're always popping up with new distilleries, and it's sad because you really don't hear about them over here unless you're watching the news or watching them kind of pop up on Twitter or whatever it is. Glen Grant 5 is solid. Wow, I have never seen that offered before. Is that an independent distillery? I have a 5 offering somewhere that you can dig up there, Jason. Where do you get that from? I'm curious because I'd try it. I've had their 15 cast strength. No, it was a first fill. That's what it was. It wasn't a cast strength. It was a first fill 15. Really good bottle. I like that one. I'd love to get my hands on like a 16 or 18. Kahoma does great work at 4 and 5. That's true. It's you only, I think. Okay, it's like the Glendronach 8. That's a bottle that's done very well at a young age. It's not as young as a 5, but the Glendronach Highland 8, man, that is a glorious, glorious bottle. Jason's had in Italy. It's in every bar. Wow. Lagavulin 10 at a Lapravoli Tiller. That would be nice to try. Is that new Ron Swanson thing I've heard about? Is that a 10, I think? I hope it's not Trevor Retail only. That would so suck. I'd be disappointed. I went to the local liquor place today looking for the new Carriages, but I didn't see it there yet. Unfortunately, they still had the Fino, the Lagavulin. I'm sorry, the Lafroig Carriages 2019 Triple Wood Cast Strength. That's the one I'm shooting for, but haven't seen it in the store local yet. I haven't gone looking yet, but 16 euros. Wow, that's cheap. 16 euros that's not far off from. Hold on here. 16 euros to USD. That's like $18. $18 for a 700 milliliter bottle. That is nuts. That's so crazy, man. Talk about buying cases. That's the shit you should be buying cases of. Want the Lafroig Quanmore. Yeah, Uncle Moore. I just finished mine, sadly, when I was on vacation. Great bottle. When Master of Malt was shipping, that's where I got that one from. But you can still get it, I think, from Whiskey Exchange or some other method. I think Grinwelly or some of those other online places probably have it available if you can get it shipped, maybe. I'm not sure what Louisiana's like on shipping, but man, that'd be a tough one to get because the Uncle Moore I think is travel retail only unless you are getting it from overseas. That's from what my memory is like. Light 10 is a brand new travel retail bottle. The nickel ball is 11. Wow. So Lagavulin has a 10 travel retail exclusive but they also have an 11. The Offerman type of offering. Wow. And they had their 19. They've gone crazy all of a sudden. I guess Diageo's finally got their hands on the reins to get a bunch of new offerings out there. I'm cool with it if it tastes good, because the 9 was damn good. I like that 9 Game of Thrones bottle. It was actually pretty well done. 12 is always good. The hmm. Yeah, I mean, the I haven't opened my 18 Fishilly up yet, but the Distillers Edition, the 16, 12, and 8 are all solid with that 9. So I can't wait to try a 11 and a 10. That's on the to-do list too. You believe the Major Reserve. Major's Reserve is the 500. Okay. If that's the case, they do have Glen Grant Major's Reserve here. Uh, I have seen that. I haven't tasted it though, so I'll have to give it a try. I got the PX for 84. That's a great price. Well done. I think it's like 90 to $100 usually, if not more. For it's a 1 liter bottle. The PX and the QA cask is another great one if you like vanilla. I love the QA cask because of the vanilla aspects, but you gotta like your peat with a lot of vanilla to get into that bottle. If you don't like a sweet kind of a vanilla peat, stay away from the QA. But I think it's actually pretty well done, I have to say. Not but either one. I love the PX is probably a little better, only because it's got that PX sherry going on. But the QA, the white, what is that? The Kyrgyz Alba, the European oak. That stuff is really good too. But yeah, anything from Lafroig minus the Four Oak and the Select are the two that I'm just not really into. I have yet to try the 1815, which I've heard a horror story about not being good. Don't want to knock it though, because I haven't tried it. My friend Mr. Lee was not really up in the 1815, but I want to try it. I think all the other ones I have tried. Pretty sure I'm going to try the Carriages 15. That's another one that's a elusive Friends of Lafroy type of thing that you can't get like you can. The Ardbeg committee releases are easy to find over here. The Friends of Lafroy stuff, man, is a bitch to find in the United States, even after the fact. They never sell it over here, hardly, in any store that I've ever seen. That Carriages 15, man, I'd love to get my hands on that one. Other than that, I think I've pretty much tried all the other Travel Retail exclusives that I can think of, unless I'm missing something I'm not remembering. Got the lure about 3 weeks ago for $85. Wow, that's a hell of a price, man. It's $130 in some places here. It's as high as $130 in Maryland. I have thankfully seen it as low as $99 to $100 here, but that's about the lowest you're going to find it in Maryland is $100 for the lure. Supposedly there is old juice in there. Maybe that's how they're getting away with these higher prices, but if you don't slap an age statement on it, how do I really know? That's what I love about the 18 and the 15 for that matter. And I cannot wait till they re-release those at some point. I'm sure it's just a matter of time because everybody wants a 15 and 18 that I know of. I've got a bottle of 18. I got to get my own bottle of 15 someday if I ever find it again. I don't want to have to go through an auction, but if I really want even the regular 2015 version, if I want a green bottle or something older, I'm really going to have to do some crazy digging. But I don't really think there's a big difference. Rabbit and I talked about that. I don't think there's a huge difference with the white and green bottlings, but we'll have to. That's a guess, though. I'm not going by experience on the guess there. So, well, guys, I'm going to have to probably shut this down and get ready because we've got a work day tomorrow. And I really appreciate y'all hanging out. It's a fast 2 hours, man. I'm surprised how time just freaking flies by doing a show like this, but it's still fun. And Trooper's got 2 bottles, man, of that 15. Please save one of those, and if hopefully to God you'll get tired of drinking or something, and one day I'll be like, "Hey, Trooper, do you still have that bottle of 15?" And you'll be like, "Yeah, you want to buy it?" And I'll be like, "Fuck yeah." That would be awesome. If I only get so lucky. But enjoy that, man. If you ever do crack them open, I'm sure you'll like it. I love the 15. It's got some nice cola-esque aspects that remind me of the Glen Scotia in it. Ah, I've got a sample of 15 somewhere over here. I'm gonna have to drink that for a nightcap. It's like the last bit of Lafroig 15 juice I have, so I'm kind of like, the precious. Gotta savor every little drop. Well, thanks for having fun, Jason. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you guys had fun. Give me a thumbs up before you go if you don't mind. And always pleasure to hear from you all too. DHS, Swami, the whole bunch. I know some of you guys don't get a chance to stop by for the live show if you're watching after the fact. I still appreciate every view I can get and hopefully get something out of it. Don't be afraid to comment after the fact if you have a question or if you have a comment or if you have some advice on getting a dram or if you have even something that you think we should kind of stay away from. I'm all about being warned. I have no problems with that. I might still try it because some people's bad stuff is another person's good stuff sometimes, but it depends on, I guess, how good or bad it is. Well, Slajava, and I'll see you guys next Tuesday, definitely. And maybe, you never know, I might throw in the feed at some point just out of the blue if I get a chance to. But until then, see you guys.